10 Stoic rules on how to emotionally detach from someone. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. These words from Marcus Aurelius hold the key to emotional freedom. At Stoic science, we believe that detaching emotionally doesn't mean shutting down your heart. It means reclaiming your peace. In this video, we'll uncover 10 Stoic rules that will help you loosen the grip of emotional attachment and step into a life of clarity, self-respect, and inner calm. Have you ever felt stuck in a cycle of holding on to someone who no longer serves your growth? What if the answer isn't in clinging harder, but in letting go with wisdom? Share your thoughts in the comments. We're building a space where strength and stillness go hand in hand. And if this message speaks to you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next step in your journey toward a freer, more grounded life. Let's begin. Rule number 1: the power of detachment. In a world that often rewards emotional reactivity and constant connectivity, the ability to emotionally detach is not a weakness. It's a rare and powerful form of strength. For men navigating careers, responsibilities, relationships, and the expectations that society silently places on them, learning how to detach isn't about becoming numb. It's about becoming free. It's about learning to master the self in a way that brings clarity, peace, and control back into your hands. Stoicism offers a map for this mastery, and at its heart lies the foundational principle of detachment. This isn't detachment in the sense of indifference or apathy, but in the Stoic sense, a deliberate practice of releasing your emotional dependency on things you cannot control. As Epictetus said, we suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them. The Stoic path invites you to stop handing others the remote control to your emotions and to start deciding which emotional channels you want to tune into. The power of detachment begins with the realization that your emotional well-being shouldn't be dictated by external circumstances or the behavior of others. When you cling too tightly to people, outcomes, or even ideas, you allow those things to govern your internal state. You might not even realize how much power you've given away until you're constantly anxious, restless, or drained, feeling like your sense of peace is always one unexpected text, one missed promotion, or one disagreement away from collapsing. Picture it like this: your emotions are a kite, and every attachment is a string. If you're holding on to too many, or gripping just one too tightly, you'll find yourself tossed and turned by every gust of wind. But Stoicism teaches you to release that death grip, not to let the kite fall, but to allow it to fly with intention, not chaos. This is not about emotional coldness. On the contrary, it is about emotional sovereignty. Stoic detachment helps you reclaim your agency and become grounded in your inner values rather than being at the mercy of outer validation. The first practical step: identify your attachments. Is it a person, a status, an image of success? Then ask yourself, why is this so hard to let go of? Often, it's not the thing itself, but the meaning we've tied to it. Maybe it's a fear of being alone. Maybe it's the idea that without that person or title, you're somehow less worthy. But Stoicism reminds you, your worth is inherent. It is not something granted by others. It is something you recognize within yourself. Next, begin to redirect your focus toward what you can control: your discipline, your habits, your responses, your purpose. Engage in routines that strengthen your sense of self, whether that's early morning training, setting boundaries, journaling, or learning to sit in stillness. In doing so, you remind yourself that fulfillment doesn't come from possessing or controlling others, but from aligning with your values and cultivating inner peace. This is not withdrawal from life, it's stepping deeper into it with a steady heart and a clear mind. As you deepen this practice, you begin to see with new eyes. You no longer chase approval or cling to outcomes. You stop trying to bend the world to fit your expectations and instead stand firm in the world as it is. This clarity is where strength lives. You're no longer a puppet to your emotions. You become the stoic man who chooses his battles wisely, feels without drowning, and loves without losing himself. As Seneca powerfully put it, he who is brave is free. The brave man is not the one who controls everything, but the one who refuses to be controlled by anything that is not his own will. Embrace this stoic path, not to escape life, but to live it more fully, with courage, freedom, and purpose. And if you feel inspired by this message, type "I trust the process" as a way to affirm your strength, patience, and commitment to growth. Let's grow together. Rule number 2, understanding attachment. Have you ever paused and asked yourself why it's so hard to let go of someone, even when their presence in your life brings more pain than peace? The truth is, our attachments often aren't about the other person at all. They're about what our ego believes we need to feel safe, seen, or whole. In Stoic philosophy, detachment begins with self-awareness, and that means looking inward rather than outward for our answers. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." That quote holds the key. It's not about eliminating connection. It's about transforming our relationship with desire. When we're attached to someone, it's usually because we've linked our self-worth to their approval or our happiness to their attention. I once knew a man who couldn't bring himself to leave a toxic relationship, not because there was love, but because his identity was entangled in being needed. Every time she pulled away, he felt smaller, not because she took something from him, but because he hadn't yet learned that his value wasn't defined by someone else's affection. That's what ego does. It convinces us that we are incomplete without the object of our attachment. But Stoic philosophy teaches us something different. It urges us to ground our worth in reason, not emotion, in character, not chaos. So what happens when we start questioning our attachments? When we ask, what fear is fueling this need to hold on? We begin to unravel the threads of illusion that ego has spun. And as we detach, something remarkable happens. We don't grow cold, we grow clear. We return to ourselves. We realized we were never missing anything. We were simply distracted from our own light. In a world that tells us to chase, Stoicism reminds us to release, to trust, to believe that life doesn't withhold, it refines. When you stop grasping, the right things find you, and what no longer aligns gently falls away without the drama or despair. This is the power of emotional detachment, not a shutting down, but an awakening, a homecoming. So, let me ask you, what are you holding on to that's holding you back? What story have you told yourself about needing this person, this situation, this outcome to feel worthy? The moment you bring awareness to that question, you're already freeing yourself. Detachment, according to Stoic philosophy, is not absent from its presence. It's the ability to be fully here, now, without clinging to what might leave or grasping at what might come. It's the courage to stand alone and still feel whole. And the lesson? True peace begins when you stop searching outside for what was always within. You are not your attachments. You are the awareness behind them. And when you live from that awareness, you no longer chase love, you become it. If this resonates with you, leave a comment below or simply type, "I don't chase, I attract." This affirmation is more than just words. It's a mindset rooted in Stoic life lessons. Rule number 3, the illusion of control. Have you ever caught yourself believing that if you just tried a little harder, said the right things, loved more intensely, sacrificed more, you could somehow control how someone feels about you or how a relationship unfolds? It's a tempting thought, isn't it? This deeply ingrained belief that our happiness depends on someone else's response is what the Stoics called the illusion of control. It's a mental trap that quietly steals our peace and anchors our emotions to outcomes we were never meant to dictate. A Stoic mindset invites us to confront this illusion with courage and clarity. The daily Stoic practice begins not with changing the world around us, but by recognizing that much of that world is outside our grasp. As Epictetus wisely put it, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. These words remind us that our inner world is ours to master, even when the outer world feels chaotic or unfair. When we live under the illusion of control, we idolize others. We put them on pedestals, thinking their attention or approval defines our worth. But the moment you begin to see others not as gods, but as fellow humans, flawed, tender, and just as uncertain as you begin to reclaim your freedom. No one else holds a key to your wholeness. You do. By turning inward and shifting focus to your thoughts, your responses, your self-talk, you start to dismantle the illusion. You become emotionally resilient, not because you stop feeling, but because you stop outsourcing your peace. Marcus Aurelius captured it perfectly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. These aren't just ancient words. They are daily Stoic instructions for modern life. Every time you catch yourself clinging to the hope that someone else will complete you, or that your joy hinges on a text message, a compliment, or their approval pause, breathe. Remind yourself of your worth, independent of outcomes. Tell yourself, "I am already whole." This is the path to true emotional detachment, not indifference, but rooted presence. Not cold withdrawal, but warm, self-assured distance. Adopting a Stoic mindset also means embracing abundance. The world is not scarce in love or opportunity. There's always more. More laughter, more connection, more growth, more grace. What would happen if you trusted that what is meant for you cannot miss you, and that losing something doesn't mean losing yourself? Ask yourself honestly, what have I been trying to control that was never mine to hold? This single question could be the beginning of your freedom. Because when you shed the illusion of control, you stop gripping life with fear and start walking through it with quiet power. And in that power, you find peace, not because everything outside has changed, but because you finally have. If this resonates with you, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. Your journey to Stoic self-mastery and victory continues with each lesson. Rule number 4, reframe your thoughts. When it comes to emotionally detaching from someone, most men don't realize that the battleground isn't out there. It's in the mind, in the quiet space between stimulus and response, between heartbreak and healing. Stoicism offers a way forward. One of the most powerful tools the Stoic man can wield is the ability to reframe his thoughts. This doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or pretending something didn't matter. It means taking full ownership of how you interpret what happened and how you choose to respond. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great pillars of Stoicism, wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And this is where the work begins. If you're constantly telling yourself stories like, "I can't live without her," "I'll never find someone else," or "My happiness depends on her," then you're not just in pain. You're reinforcing it, painting your soul with helplessness. But Stoicism teaches us that our thoughts are not truths. They are choices. And when you begin to question the narratives looping in your head, everything starts to change. Ask yourself, is that belief absolutely true? What proof do I really have? Would I advise my closest friend to believe something that is limiting about himself? More often than not, you'll realize that these thoughts are not rooted in reality, but in fear, ego, or unresolved emotional dependency. And that's where reframing comes in, not as some pop psychology trick, but as a disciplined practice of mental sovereignty. Instead of saying, "I can't live without her," you begin to affirm, "I am fully capable of finding peace and fulfillment within myself." Instead of, "I'll never find someone else," you remind yourself, "Love exists in many forms, and I'm open to what life may bring next." This isn't a delusion. This is clarity. This is what it means to embody Stoic resilience. But it doesn't happen overnight. The Stoic path requires repetition and commitment. Begin each day by writing down truths that empower you, not thoughts that weaken you. Say them. Say them as you mean them. I am who I am. I release what no longer serves me. I stand in my own power. These affirmations are not magic. They are mental weights that help you strengthen your ability to reshape. And if your mind resists, that's okay. That's where mindfulness becomes your ally. Meditation and conscious breathing help you catch the spiral before it gets too deep. They create distance between your thoughts and your identity, helping you realize that you are not your pain, but the awareness behind it. Letting go doesn't mean becoming cold. It means becoming centered. As you learn to reshape your thoughts with the patience of a craftsman and the discipline of a Stoic, you will begin to notice a change. What once broke you now strengthens you. The past no longer controls you, it teaches you. And in that change, you regain your freedom. If you are ready to change, comment below, "I am ready." Rule number 5, embrace the present moment. When you're trying to emotionally detach from someone, the most powerful tool you can develop is the ability to anchor yourself in the present moment. This principle, deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy, teaches us that peace is not found in rewinding the past or fast-forwarding into an imagined future, but in embracing the reality of now. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic minds, once wrote, "Confine yourself to the present," reminding us that the only place we truly have any power is in this very moment. How often do you find yourself stuck, reliving memories, wondering what could have been, or fearing what may come next? These loops pull you out of your life and into illusions. The past is gone and unchangeable. The future? Still unwritten. But right now, this breath, this heartbeat is yours. A man I once coached had been struggling for years after a painful breakup. He replayed conversations in his mind, second-guessed his decisions, and obsessed over what she might be doing now. But when he began practicing mindfulness, simply noticing the warmth of the coffee in his hand each morning, or the way the sunlight filtered through the trees on his walk to work, he began to feel something he hadn't in a long time: peace. You see, Stoic philosophy doesn't ask you to suppress your emotions. It teaches you to reframe them by aligning your mind with what is within your control. And one thing you always have control over is where your attention goes. When you choose to focus on what's happening in front of you, not the ghosts of yesterday or the shadows of tomorrow, you reclaim your energy and stop feeding the emotional attachments that keep you bound. Mindfulness, in its essence, is not a complicated practice. It is where your feet are. It is listening deeply to a conversation instead of crafting your reply. It's noticing the rhythm of your breath, the texture of your food, the sound of birdsong outside your window. These small acts of presence become the anchors that hold you steady in the chaos. Meditation and breathing exercises can help train this muscle. You don't need an hour a day. Start with 5 minutes. Sit quietly, breathe slowly, and when your mind wanders, because it will gently bring it back. This discipline of return builds emotional resilience. And as you do this more often, something shifts. Regret softens. Anxiety loses its grip. Gratitude takes root. When you begin to see the beauty in ordinary moments, you stop chasing people or outcomes that no longer serve your peace. Let me ask you this. What would happen if you fully showed up for today, without dragging yesterday behind you or bracing against tomorrow? That question alone can break chains. In the end, embracing the present moment is not just a tactic for detachment, it is a way of life. It allows you to live freely, grounded in awareness, immune to emotional turbulence that once had the power to undo you. And that, at its core, is the gift of Stoic philosophy. Not to numb your emotions, but to place them in their proper context so you can live with clarity, strength, and peace. Did you find this helpful? If yes, please comment yes. If not, please comment no. If not often, please comment sometimes. Rule number 6, detachment in practice. Have you ever felt like you're holding on so tightly to something, whether a relationship, a memory, or a version of yourself, that it actually begins to hurt? That ache isn't always physical. It's emotional, mental, even spiritual. And yet, the idea of letting go feels even scarier than the pain of holding on. But here's what the Stoic mindset teaches us. Detachment is not abandonment. It's alignment. It's the decision to stop clinging to what no longer nourishes your growth and to start reclaiming your peace. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." And this applies directly to the emotional clutter we carry. We are often so afraid of letting go because we assume it means losing something irreplaceable, when in truth, it often clears space for something far more aligned with who we're becoming. I remember clinging to a relationship that felt safe but stagnant. It didn't hurt me, but it didn't grow me either. Deep down, I feared the unknown. I worried that releasing what was familiar would leave me empty. What I didn't realize was that my hands were too full of the past to receive what was meant for my future. And haven't you held on to something because it was known, not because it was right? That's where practicing detachment becomes essential. It's the act of loosening your grip and trusting that what's meant to stay will never require force. Think of it like holding a rope that's burning your hands. The longer you hold on, the more damage it does. But when you release it, healing begins. This is not about apathy or coldness. It's about choosing freedom over fear. It's about saying, I love myself enough to not be enslaved by emotional dependencies. And let's talk about comparison for a moment. In today's world, the pressure to measure your worth against someone else's filtered highlights is constant. That's the illusion the daily Stoic reminds us to challenge. Social media shows you perfection, not process. Joy, not struggle. But life isn't curated, and neither is healing. When I stopped comparing my journey to someone else's projection, I began living from the inside out, not the outside in. The Stoic mindset invites you to redirect your energy from what you cannot control, like others' opinions or appearances, to what you can: your choices, your values, your path. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have control over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you will find power. So the next time you're tempted to hold on out of fear, ask yourself, what will be gained by letting go? Is this pain a doorway to a better version of me? Is this detachment a doorway to deeper joy? Letting go doesn't mean you've lost. It means you've learned to trust yourself enough to choose peace. It means you've finally seen your worth as something that doesn't need to be proven, just protected. So lean into that stillness. Release with intention. And remember, you're not giving up on love, joy, or connection. You're just removing what's blocking it. Express your determination by commenting below, I remove what's blocking me. Rule number 7. Set healthy boundaries. In a world where many men are taught to endure silently, to keep the peace even at the cost of their own well-being, few realize that true strength sometimes means drawing a line not in anger, but in wisdom. In the Stoic tradition, setting healthy boundaries is not an act of separation, but an act of self-respect. It is how you begin to emotionally detach from what drains your spirit and reclaim authority over your inner world. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength is what boundaries give you. If you've ever found yourself saying yes when your gut screamed no, or tolerating disrespect in the name of loyalty, know this: you are not alone, but you are allowed to change. In Stoicism, emotional detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. Boundaries are how you honor that clarity. They help you define the line between who you are and who others expect you to be. By identifying what behaviors you will and won't accept, and communicating them calmly but firmly, you send a powerful signal to the world. I know my worth. And here's the truth. When you respect your own limits, others begin to respect them too. This shift isn't about cutting people off. It's about cutting off confusion, guilt, and silent resentment. Let's say someone consistently disrespects your time or your peace. A Stoic response isn't to explode or withdraw in bitterness. It's to look that person in the eye and say, I value our connection, but this behavior doesn't work for me. No drama, no lecture, just dignified honesty. That one act of asserting a boundary can prevent 1,000 emotional entanglements down the road. Healthy boundaries also reduce emotional dependence. When your peace no longer depends on someone else's validation, you become free to choose your own standards for happiness, fulfillment, and integrity. Stoicism teaches that your internal stability should not be held hostage by another person's moods, expectations, or approval. As you learn to set boundaries, you also learn to trust yourself. Each no spoken from self-awareness becomes a yes to your own values. Over time, you begin attracting relationships built not on guilt or fear, but on mutual respect and understanding. The ancient Stoics believed that virtue, not attachment, was the key to a good life. And part of virtue is knowing how to protect the space in which your soul grows. So ask yourself, where in your life do you need to draw a line not to punish someone, but to protect your peace? This is not selfishness, it's spiritual discipline. In fact, setting boundaries might be the most stoic thing you do this year, because it's not about building walls, it's about planting pillars. Pillars of clarity, confidence, and calm. And from that foundation, you can build a life that is not only emotionally stable, but profoundly free. If you found value in this, comment below. I embrace mystery. And hit that subscribe button to keep learning how to harness the power of Stoic principles in every area of life. Rule number 8. Engage in self-care. Rule number 9 in Stoic philosophy teaches us something deeply practical, yet often overlooked: the quiet power of self-care. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something purely for yourself, without guilt or apology? You see, emotional detachment isn't about suppressing your feelings or becoming numb. It's about anchoring yourself so firmly within that external attachments no longer shake your foundation. The Stoics knew this. Seneca once said, "A sound mind and a sound body is a short but full description of a happy state in this world." That statement wasn't just poetic. It was a command to take your well-being seriously. Self-care is not indulgence. It's discipline. It is your responsibility to care for the vessel, your mind, your body, your spirit, because neglecting one weakens all. When you engage in physical exercise, you're not just sculpting your body. You're cultivating emotional resilience. The endorphins you release through movement can be more powerful than the fleeting highs of external validation. And when you sit in silence, engaging in meditation or deep breathing, you're training your mind to observe rather than react to an essential Stoic trait. Mindfulness is not trendy. It is ancient. It allows you to create a buffer between yourself and the chaos around you. Let's take someone like James, a hardworking man in his 40s who recently went through a painful divorce. At first, he spiraled, working long hours to avoid his emotions, constantly checking his ex's social media and drowning in regret. But then he remembered something his therapist once told him. Your healing doesn't begin with them, it begins with you. So he picked up his guitar, started jogging in the mornings, and joined a local community group. Slowly, but surely, the need to close the gap with others was replaced by self-respect and inner peace. His story is not unique. It is a modern echo of ancient wisdom. Engaging in self-care also means surrounding yourself with people who lift you up rather than drain you. The Stoics warned us to pay attention to our friends because energy is contagious. And if you don't maintain your peace, the world will take it away from you. So ask yourself, are your habits and relationships contributing to your growth, or are they emotionally imprisoning you? True Stoic philosophy encourages you to build an inner world so vibrant and complete that the loss or absence of others doesn't cause it to collapse. Emotional detachment then becomes an act of reverence rather than denial. It is choosing yourself every day, not because you don't care about others, but because you have learned to care for yourself enough to not lose your soul in the attempt to hold others back. In a world that constantly tells you to give more, do more, and be more for others, the Stoic reminder is, be whole first. It is the foundation of true wisdom, clarity, and freedom. Comment below, be whole first, as your commitment to this journey. Rule number 9, practice gratitude. Let me speak to you directly, because emotional detachment, especially when you've cared deeply for someone, isn't about shutting down or becoming cold. It's about reclaiming your energy and anchoring yourself in what is real and nourishing in your life. This is where the Stoic mindset becomes not just helpful, but transformative. One of the most underrated yet powerful tools within the daily Stoic practice is gratitude. You might wonder, how can something as simple as being thankful help me let go? The answer lies in where your focus goes. When your mind constantly fixates on what you don't have, whether it's the presence of a person, a conversation that never happened, or a future that never unfolded, you unknowingly deepen your emotional attachment to something that no longer exists in your reality. But when you begin to intentionally shift your attention to what is good and meaningful in your current life, something alchemical happens. You start to see that you're not empty. You're simply evolving. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he is not, but rejoices for those which he has." In that spirit, consider beginning each morning by listing 3 things you are grateful for. It doesn't have to be anything grand. A warm coffee, the sound of birds outside your window, or the quiet peace in your own breath. These small recognitions, done daily, begin to rewire your brain away from loss and toward presence. Over time, your emotional compass shifts. The space that was once occupied by longing is now filled with contentment. This is not just psychology, it's philosophy in action. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and Stoic, once wrote in his Meditations, "Do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess." What would happen if, instead of replaying what went wrong, or what could have been, you focused on the things that still make your life rich today? Gratitude does not erase grief, but it grounds you in truth. It helps you detach not by force, but by recognizing that you are not as empty as your emotions may claim. You begin to understand that detachment isn't abandonment, it's alignment. You are aligning with what remains and what is real. You are choosing to feed your spirit rather than your sorrow. In the daily Stoic path, gratitude is not sentimental fluff. It is disciplined perception. It is a weapon against the scarcity mindset that tricks you into thinking you need someone else to feel whole. So I ask you, what are 3 things right now that you're grateful for? Let that question guide you today. Let it be your reminder that your life still holds beauty, still holds meaning, still holds light. In practicing gratitude, you are not escaping your pain. You are transforming it through presence and perspective. That is the essence of the Stoic mindset, choosing wisdom over reaction and peace over pursuit. Share your thoughts in the comments below, or simply type "I choose clarity" to remind yourself that your path is one of truth and consistency. Let's keep this conversation going. The more we learn, the stronger we become. Rule number 10. The path to happiness. They say happiness is elusive, but maybe it's only elusive when we keep chasing it in the wrong places. You've likely spent years building a career, supporting others, holding it together for your family, or leading with strength. And yet, when a relationship ends or someone pulls away, it can shake even the strongest man. But here's a truth few are ready to admit. When your sense of peace depends on someone else's presence, you've handed them the keys to your emotional well-being. Stoicism teaches us something radically different. It invites you to reclaim that key, not by becoming cold or distant, but by becoming whole. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." In other words, the path to lasting happiness isn't paved with approval, attention, or affirmation from others. It begins with the courage to look inward and realize you've already got what you're searching for. A stoic man does not cling to fleeting emotions or external rewards. He grounds himself in principle, character, and inner discipline. So ask yourself, what would change if you truly believed that your happiness wasn't tied to anyone else's choices? Would you still wait for that call, replay that silence, or measure your worth by how someone treats you? Or would you, perhaps for the first time in a long time, breathe freely and feel at peace in your own presence? Detachment, in the Stoic sense, isn't emotional exile. It's emotional clarity. It's realizing that your value doesn't rise and fall based on who stays or who walks away. You are not the result of another's recognition. You are the result of your own refinement. Picture this: a bird that refuses to fly unless someone tells it it's allowed. That's why many of us become grounded not by reality, but by permission we never needed. The sky has always been open. The only thing left is to stretch your wings, not in defiance, but in alignment with who you truly are. Think of it like tending a garden. You don't beg one flower to bloom. You focus on the soil, your mindset, your habits, your growth. And over time, beauty grows. Detachment means you don't chase people to validate your garden. You let it bloom, and let whoever wants to witness it come on their own terms. This is where Stoicism shines. It reminds you to focus only on what you can control: your thoughts, your choices, your response. When you release the grip on what you can't control, like someone's attention, affection, or departure, you create space for something far more powerful: self-respect. It's not about shutting down emotionally. It's about securing your foundation so deeply that love becomes something you offer, not something you beg for. The Stoic path to happiness is paved with ownership. You are not a puzzle piece missing someone else. You are a complete canvas, still evolving, still expanding, but already enough. Can you feel how different that is from waiting to be chosen? So the next time you're tempted to believe that your joy lives in someone else's hands, pause, breathe, return to yourself. Because in the end, happiness isn't found in attachment, it's discovered in alignment. And that, my friend, is where the true Stoic begins his flight. What part of this message resonates with you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how this has shaped your journey. So, as we close, remember this: the 10 Stoic rules you've just discovered, ranging from understanding attachment and reframing your thoughts to practicing gratitude are more than just ideas. They are daily tools that can liberate your mind and heal your heart. Emotional detachment doesn't mean turning cold. It means reclaiming your power and finding peace within. As you apply these principles, you'll begin to experience more clarity, strength, and freedom in your life. What rule spoke to you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found value in this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Stoic Science, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next dose of timeless truth.